Norfolk Island from Lord Howe Island, together with the neighboring Phillip Island and Nepean Island. The three islands collectively form the territory of Norfolk Island. At the 2016 census, it had 1748 inhabitants living on a total area of about 35 square kilometers. Its capital is Kingston. The first known settlers in Norfolk Island were East Polynesians, but they had already departed when Great Britain settled it as part of its 1788 settlement of Australia. The island served as a convict penal settlement from the 6th of March 1788 until the 5th of May 1855. Except for an 11-year hiatus between the 15th of February 1814 and the 6th of June 1825, when it lay abandoned. On the 8th of June 1856, permanent civilian residence on the island began when descendants of the Bounty mutineers were relocated from Pitcairn Island. In 1914, the UK handed Norfolk Island over to Australia to administer as an external territory. Native to the island, the evergreen Norfolk Island pine is a symbol of the island and is pictured on its flag. The pine is a key export for Norfolk Island, being a popular ornamental tree in Australia and also worldwide. Norfolk Island was uninhabited when first settled by Europeans, but evidence of earlier habitation was obvious. Archaeological investigation suggests that in the 13th or 14th century the island was settled by East Polynesian seafarers, either from the Kermadec Islands north of New Zealand, or from the North Island of New Zealand. However, both Polynesian and Melanesian artifacts have been found, so it is possible that people from New Caledonia, relatively close to the north, also reached Norfolk Island. Human occupation must have ceased at least a few hundred years before Europeans arrived in late 18th century. Ultimately, the relative isolation of the island and its poor horticultural environment were not favorable to long-term settlement. The first European known to have sighted and landed on the island was Captain James Cook. On the 10th of October 1774, on his second voyage to the South Pacific on HMS Resolution, he named it after Mary Howard, Duchess of Norfolk. Sir John Call argued the advantages of Norfolk Island in that it was uninhabited and that New Zealand flax grew there. After the outbreak of the American Revolutionary War in 1776 halted penal transportation to the 13 colonies, British prisons started to overcrowd. Several stopgap measures proved ineffective, and the government announced in December 1785 that it would send convicts to parts of what is now known as Australia. In 1786, it included Norfolk Island as an auxiliary settlement, as proposed by John Call, in its plan for colonization of the colony of New South Wales. The decision to settle Norfolk Island was taken after Empress Catherine II of Russia restricted the sale of hemp. At the time, practically all the hemp and flax required by the Royal Navy for cordage and sailcloth was imported from Russia. When the first fleet arrived at Port Jackson in January 1788, Governor Arthur Phillip ordered Lieutenant Philip Gidley King to lead a party of 15 convicts and 7 free men to take control of Norfolk Island and prepare for its commercial development. They arrived on the 6th of March, during the first year of the settlement, which was also called Sydney, like its parent. More convicts and soldiers were sent to the island from New South Wales. Robert Watson, harbourmaster, arrived with the first fleet as quartermaster of HMS Sirius, and was still serving in that capacity when the ship was wrecked at Norfolk Island in 1790. Next year, he obtained and cultivated a grant of 60 acres on the island. As early as 1794, Lieutenant Governor of New South Wales Francis Grose suggested its closure as a penal settlement, as it was too remote and difficult for shipping and too costly to maintain. The first group of people left in February 1805, and by 1808, only about 200 remained, forming a small settlement until the remnants were removed in 1813. A small party remained to slaughter stock and destroy all buildings, so that there would be no inducement for anyone, especially from other European powers, to visit and lay claim to the place. From February 1814 until June 1825, The island was uninhabited. In 1824, the British government instructed the Governor of New South Wales, Thomas Brisbane, to reoccupy Norfolk Island as a place to send the worst description of convicts. Its remoteness, previously seen as a disadvantage, was now viewed as an asset for the detention of recalcitrant male prisoners. The convicts detained have long been assumed to be hardcore recidivists, or doubly convicted capital respites, that is, men transported to Australia who committed fresh crimes in the colony for which they were sentenced to death, but were spared the gallows on condition of life on Norfolk Island. However, a 2011 study, using a database of 6,458 Norfolk Island convicts, has demonstrated that the reality was somewhat different. More than half were detained on Norfolk Island without ever receiving